Hey guys, Kim here, and you are tuned into Kim E, the Diabetes MP. Let me tell y'all, we have had a time over here. This is not my first time recording this. Um, I am trying to give the best possible quality as possible. I want you all to see me well. I want you all to hear me well. And the last Lunch and Learn I did, I could tell the audio was off, okay? And when I was sharing it to other platforms as it was being compressed, the quality was decreasing each and every time. And so my husband is a big part of my tech and behind the scenes. And so he's been ordering me stuff, and we've been really doing a lot of, trying to really level up my quality. And he set me up. And then when I went to record on my own, I did not have the right mic plugged in. And so I am hopefully, I am hopefully doing this now. I know I'm doing this now. He just came in. I'm just going to double check one time. Yep, I'm coming in through. Listen, if it's not doing it this time, I'm just gonna have to do it on another day because my goodness. But I recorded the whole thing and went to go upload it, no sound. I said, "Help me, Lord, help me." But anyways, we're here. We're here. I'm a little late. This is the Lunch and Learn series. I created this Lunch and Learn series to be able to focus on a specific topic in diabetes management. I wanted to do it midday, around lunchtime, when I know that people have time. I don't want to take up all of your lunch. So it's a quick pop on, pop out, 30 minutes or less. And so if you all can't hear this, we're gonna have to do it another day. Okay. My hope and my push is to do it all on Fridays at 11:30. We're late, but we're here. Okay. And so, anyways, I already told you who I am, Kim E, the Diabetes MP. I've already told you that we're doing the Lunch and Learn series. And let me just give you a little background for those who don't know me. If this is your first time tuning in, I am a family nurse practitioner as well as a diabetes care and education specialist. All that means is I'm a diabetes educator. A lot of times when I say what the official title is, a lot of it doesn't register to people. So I always follow it with I'm a diabetes educator. Okay. And so, anywho, I created this platform, Kim E, the Diabetes MP, to really be a resource to my colleagues, my other healthcare professionals that are out there, right? And at one point in time, I was extremely overwhelmed with diabetes management. Um, and I decided to learn more about it. And as I was learning, I wanted to share. Eventually, I grew a passion for it and wanted to specialize in education and care and management. And now, what I do, in addition to this and working my 9 to 5, I also serve as a healthcare media expert, as well as a healthcare media consultant, where I really talk about culturally competent, which I actually like to say culturally responsive care. I talk a lot about preventative medicine as well as chronic disease management, really focusing on how we deliver our care and how we can streamline and bring more efficient care in our organizations. And so, thank you all for joining me. Uh, we're gonna get into it. It's been a hoot today, but we're here. I don't mind doing it again. I have my notes. And today, what our topic is for Lunch and Learn is implicit bias. Now, hold on with me, okay? Now, it probably goes without saying there is implicit bias in healthcare. That's the title of the Lunch and Learn. But here recently, in the past week, there's been a viral video that has gone around and has set the medical healthcare social media on fire, particularly in the nursing profession, because this video it included a nurse practitioner having an encounter with a pregnant patient. I myself made a quick um, a quick video on my social media, but it got a lot of feedback on it. A lot of people were commenting, liking it. I had people to share it, and I felt like I need to unpack it just a little bit more. I have a little bit more to say about it, and I feel like this was a good conversation, right? Now, I do want to say I'm going to show this TikTok video. It's about a minute and a half or so. I'm going to share my screen so you all can see it. But this is not a diabetes encounter, right? But we're going to tie it into diabetes management, right? Because this is a teachable moment. This is a really good teachable moment that I believe that we can learn something from, especially if you don't want to become a viral moment yourself. But there were some missed opportunities there, and some ways that we can approach this better. I think this is something we all can learn from. So, what I'm going to do is share my screen, and I am going to let's look at the video first, and then we'll go from there. Before I do that, before I do that, I have to make sure that I'm sharing my audio. Okay.
We're not going to work. I'm just curious. What were you thinking about when you got pregnant that we're not going to work? I'm just curious because, like, I've had 3 kids. I worked up until the second they were born.
But am I you? Are you me? Do you know how I feel? You know
Yeah,
how I
that's what I'm
feel?
asking. I'm interested to know what you think. I want to know your mindset. So when you got pregnant, what were you thinking about?
I was thinking about having a kid. I'm confused on where you're going at.
I'm confused too because you came in here and I did an assessment and I gave you my best medical advice. And you didn't like that.
But I said that I just wanted a note so I could take it easy these next 2 months. I'm 7 months pregnant and I'm in pain. It's not fraud. If it was fraud, the doctor wouldn't be getting me my note right now.
Really?
Yes.
What I read on your chart isn't true.
Okay.
So I
What's
know
on my chart that's not true?
I read on your chart what isn't true because I'm the person who saw you and did the exam.
Okay.
So it's okay.
But how do you know how I feel? How do you know how my body feels inside?
Because I stuck my hand in there and checked your cervix.
Okay, you check my cervix, but how you know how my bones feel? How you know how my body feels, my legs, my back? How do you know how that feels? How you know how my nausea feels? How you know how my cramps feel? By touching. And you're okay. All right. So this is the nurse practitioner, and look how she's hitting me. Look at it. Check her out. Check it out. Call the police, and they're going to see what you just did. Call the police. She already called the police on me once because I called her a weirdo. Yes. Look at this lady is fucking crazy. Call the cops again. Call them. I got you on video hitting me with that thing in your hand. This is the Philly Pregnancy Center, guys.
Yeah, okay, Tilly.
She didn't want to give me a...
What were you thinking about when you got pregnant?
So that was the video. Okay. And so we're going to get into that. We're going to unpack it a little bit. Okay. So again, because I don't want to have a situation where, okay, my mic is up. Just want to make sure my mic is up. But anyways, so drop down in the comments. What do y'all think about that? Either way, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to give my commentary. We're going to talk about how we can tie this into diabetes management and care. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Something that I do want to share is the definition of implicit bias. Okay. I do believe this is a conversation we need to have and we need to continue to have. I don't believe this is a conversation that needs to happen one time. I think that as much as we get updates on medications and technology, we need to talk about implicit biases. Why? Because we all have biases and we all make assumptions. I've shared that over the summer, I had the privilege to speak at the Association of Diabetes Care and Education Specialists, the conference in Baltimore. I also spoke at the National Black Nurses Association conference in Chicago. And I presented my work that I do with my consulting clients. One of the things that I do as a client, as a consultant, is I really help with the process, the clinical processes, and helping people clean up and streamline their process in how they deliver their care so it can be more efficient. In 2020, I saw a trend with some of my clients. They were trying to revitalize some of their, they were trying to revitalize some of their programming, and they were having a hard time engaging with their patients. And when I did some more digging, I realized that it was an issue with how, like, it was more of an issue with how they engage with their minority patients, particularly their Black patients. And I decided to put this a part of my recommendations. It's a training that I do with the leadership and the staff, and I developed an approach called the diaspora approach. And in this training that I do, I talk about assumptions and unconscious bias. And one of the things that I talk a lot about, you're going to hear me say it a lot, is that words, they mean things. Okay. Meaning that our words have so much power in them. You know, we've all heard the saying that there's life and death in the power of the tongue, that for an organ that has not one bone in it, it can crush people, it can crush the bones of people. Our words are very powerful. Why? Because they evoke thoughts, they direct action. And so you have to be very mindful on what you say and what words mean, right? So I'm always big at defining words, because sometimes in the midst of like our hustle and bustle, we can get to talking and we really don't know what we're really talking about, or we may mean one thing, or we may be doing something else. And sometimes just the definition just really lays the foundation for us all. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and I am going to give you the definition of implicit bias, right? So I was scouring the internet trying to get the best possible, definition. Want to get a definition that encompasses the full idea. You know what I'm saying? And I found a couple. This website is the Perception Institute, perception.org, and I will leave it in the description box for you. But I want to share this so we can understand, that all of us have it, even if we know it or not. Okay. And so when I first just looked it up, the definition that came up was, it's also known as unconscious bias. It refers to the attitudes and beliefs that occur outside of conscious awareness and control. Meaning that this stuff you can lean towards something and not even know. You can be in favor of or against something without really being fully aware that you're doing it, right? And so here, the definition here is, and I'm only going to focus primarily on this top part. But it says what it is thoughts and feelings are implicit if we are unaware of them or mistaken by their nature. We have a bias when, rather than being neutral, we have a preference for or aversion to a person or group of people. Thus, we use the term implicit bias to describe when we have attitudes towards people or associate stereotypes with them without our conscious knowledge. A fairly commonplace example of this is seen in studies that show that white people will frequently associate criminality with Black people without even realizing they're doing it, right? And so let's stop sharing. If I can get my thing over here. There we go. Okay. So there it is, guys. Those are the definitions. And the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of times when we have these conversations about bias and unconscious bias, a lot of times people can kind of zone out thinking that, well, I don't feel that way. I love everybody, or I care for all my patients and I don't. But this blatantly tells us right here that definition there and the definition that I shared on my paper is that it can be something that you're doing and you're not aware that you're doing it. So we have to continue to have conversations about it so we can lean into it. And most of the time when we're talking about this, I think we all have had some type of cultural consciousness, cultural awareness training, and it's like a buzzword now, and it can fall on deaf ears. We can become numb to these trainings, and we really should not. Okay, and I challenge us all to not, and to really be very self-reflective in the areas that you can be better in, because this is the reason why we had this situation here. If you just, I'm going to hop into my commentary now. Let's go ahead and do it. So if you think about her tone, listen to her tone. It's a very accusatory and assumptive. Is that a word? I think I said it right. You get what I'm saying? She was making a lot of assumptions here. You could tell it was full. Her response, her tone was very full of judgment, very full of accusing, and assuming, right? And so let's just go through it and unpack it, okay? And like I said, I talked about this on my social media, so I'm just going to expound on the points that I already made. So the first thing is she immediately comes out and asks, what was your mindset when you got pregnant? And what was your mindset? Did you think that you were not going to have to work? And my first thoughts were, why is that even relevant to the case? Why would you even ask that? Like, why, first off, why is that your business? Why do you care? And why is that relevant? I mean, are you going to submit that into your note? Are you going to put the claim in and say that in the claim? It's not relevant. It's not relevant. Why it's not relevant? Well, for one, statistically, we know that the majority of births here in this country are unplanned, even if the people are married. People don't think about that when they're in the process of making a baby. Everyone is not sitting down planning now. Okay, it's time for us to have a baby. We're going to do it. Not everyone does that. Lots of babies come about and, hey, I think I'm pregnant, whether you're married or not. You know what I'm saying? It's all the same, right? And so for her to ask that, I don't see why that is relevant at all. And then she goes into the next thing and she says that, well, I have 3 children. I worked up to the second I had them. Well, I feel sorry for you because we have normalized a culture in our country where women are expected to work just like that up until you have a child. And how crazy, if we really take a step back, how crazy is that? Especially knowing there are countries out there that women have maternity leave 12 months minimum paid. Could you imagine that in America? I mean, there are some companies that do that here in America, but for the majority of us, you're lucky to get your 3 months, your 12 weeks. For me, a woman who has 2 children, I went back to work when my oldest was 3 weeks old. Went back to work when my second was 6 weeks old. I had no choice. It was go with unpaid, like zero pay. And though we had savings, you are always, as a parent and with this new infant, you're always thinking to yourself, like, wow, like if something comes up and we don't have income coming in, like what's going to happen? And I had insurance. I had insurance. So we live in a society that normalizes the hustle and the grind, even if you are growing a human. So for you to say that really has no teeth or no legs, that's not nothing to aspire to. And I would never want a woman to aspire to that, especially being that I'm a mother myself. It still aches me to know that I had to go back to work so early on when my kids were so little. You know, if I think about it too much, it'll make me cry. It's that it affects me like that, right? So when it comes to another fellow woman, another fellow pregnant woman, I'm always like, take as much time as you can with your children, especially when you have this one culture that's like you should work up until the day you have your kid, but then also in the same breath it's like we should spend more time with our children. Like, make it make sense. Which one are we going to do, right? you know and so that really just was like that was ill placed. And to compare me to you, like the woman said, I'm not you. And even this, here's something to think about. For those of us who have multiple children, we can tell you and vouch for the fact that pregnancies are different pregnancy to pregnancy, even with the same woman. So if it can be different with you, each kid can be a different pregnancy. It can definitely be different from person to person. So why would you even bring that up? Again, why is that relevant? It's not. It wasn't relevant. Okay. And then lastly, her calling the police. And this is honestly, I'm going to be honest, this is the reason why the header on that video says crazy Karen alert. And I know that is a trigger for a lot of people, but you have to understand that when you wave this, I'm going to call the police over people's heads, especially minorities, especially Black people, that is a signal to us that you're meaning harm to us. Because especially in this day and time where we have seen on video where people have been shot on camera for virtually doing nothing, and for you to say, I'm going to call the police, that's almost like you're threatening my life. Okay. And I can understand the idea of not wanting to be filmed. But if you're doing nothing wrong, it really doesn't matter if you film me or not. Because call the police. It doesn't matter if you're filming me. You can post this. People are going to see that I did nothing wrong. Now, I'm not saying that I want to be filmed by someone or that she was wrong for not wanting to be filmed. But again, you don't go then and then start trying to hit her and block her. You just walk off. So there were a lot of things that happened in this video. It's a lot of things, right? Okay. And my biggest thing here is, if you're not doing anything wrong, it shouldn't matter if you're being videotaped or not. I don't care. I've had people record me. I have seen patients. I know that they were recording me. I've had patients that I know that they were voice recording me. Some of them have told me, some of them they haven't. I'm not a fool. I know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But I know that I am doing the right thing. So I don't care what I say. I don't care what you think you're getting, but I'm doing the right thing, and I will stand 10 toes down for it. The reason, and it's very clear, this woman knew that she was not doing something right. Hence why you're trying to block the camera and stuff. Very unprofessional there. Okay. And so how does this tie into diabetes care and management? Before I go into this, let me also say this. As a nurse practitioner myself, this was very disheartening. I'm going to have to say, on a couple of reasons for me, because it's very clear that this was an encounter between, this was a minority that she was speaking to, I know. But this is also what appears to be a seasoned nurse and possibly nurse practitioner as well. And it makes me think, if this is how you approach encounters with people, if this has happened once, it could have possibly happened other times too. And that's kind of scary. That's scary. What about the people that didn't film you and the things that you were saying, right? Also, being that she's a nurse practitioner and knowing the state of where we as nurse practitioners are and what we're fighting for, a lot of us are behind the independent practice. And, I'll read here what this note says. And it says, I came in for, because on the video, she has a caption on it, and you probably read it while I was letting the video play, but it said, I came in for a note for work because I'm experiencing pain and I'm ready to take my maternity leave. But for some reason, this Karen went crazy and got even more crazy when the real doctor composed my note. That stung me, because as a nurse practitioner, we're fighting very, very hard to be respected in this space. We have many people who refer to us as the assistant to the doctors in training. I've had all kinds of things said to me, and when you have situations like this does not help build our case that we should be independent practice, especially that there are so many forces that are trying to block us from having independent practice. When it's the evidence is out there that people feel more comfortable with nurse practitioners. Nobody's going to convince me different. I've had tons of patients to tell me this, countless, and there's all kinds of evidence that's out there. People like being taken care of by nurse practitioners, love being taken care of by nurse practitioners. But situations like this does not help us. So that stung. That the real doctor, well, then who are we? But you know what? I can't even defend you on this when you're acting like this. That was what was it was a very unfortunate missed opportunity. So how does this tie into diabetes care and management? Well, people who have diabetes face biases like this all the time. And actually, my next Lunch and Learn, I am going to go into a comment that I received under one of my YouTube videos where there was, I'm not going to say fat shaming, but there was this assumption that people who have diabetes type 2, this is the reason why they have it. And I had to use that as a teachable moment because that's not true. And so stay tuned for next week. If you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, Kim E, the Diabetes MP, you need to, because that's going to be a great teachable moment for us all, right? Not just for the providers, but also for patients as well, and people, the general public. So make sure you're following me there, right? But when we cannot allow our past experiences and encounters to dictate what our current and future encounters are. And we see this a lot in diabetes management. Our patients are feeling this. You see a group of people that you see a trend, or you believe you have a trend with when it comes to their care. Maybe you feel that they don't adhere to the care plan, and you can automatically think that, well, these people or this group of people, they don't engage in their care. That's unfair. And you've already shot them in the foot and haven't even given them a chance, especially with our priority groups who happen to be minority groups, our Black population, our Hispanic population, our Pacific Islander, Asian population. These are our priority groups. And people, we as professionals, we can lump people into a box. We can assume that, well, same story, different day. And that's unfair. So we cannot allow our past experiences and encounters to dictate what we're currently going through and what our future encounters are going to be. And then lastly, I touched on this throughout. I feel like I've touched on this, but that tone was very accusatory, and which leads to a non-patient centered environment. And to say something like, okay, clearly she's saying she's in pain, but the nurse practitioner is like, well, I checked you. And the woman says, how do you know? Because I put my hand in there and I checked your cervix. But how ignorant does that sound? Like that's the only pain that a pregnant woman can have. You're literally carrying pounds in front of you, 10 pounds in front of you or more. You don't think that a woman's back is going to hurt, And what's so disheartening is that you as a woman should know this. You as a woman who have had children, you said it, you've had 3 children. You know the back pain that can happen. You know that women can have spasms and they can have sciatica and numbness and tingling because that baby could literally sit on a nerve. I know because I had it. It was horrible, right? Can sit there. And that's what you're standing on. That's what you're standing on. The better way to do this would have been like, and I'm wondering if this was even the conversation. We don't know. We don't know what the full thing is. And yes, you can question a lot of things, but apparently there was another provider there, i.e. the real doctor, who did not see that this was an issue. So that is the rebuttal to anyone who is saying, well, we don't know what she found. Well, it must not have been substantial because the real doctor is writing the note. That's what really got her upset, is that she felt like that person, that patient, was going behind her back. And, so was it offered? Did you ask and inquire what kind of work she does? Do you stand all day? Is there any way that maybe you could do more clerical work? Maybe you can sit more. Maybe you can have an option to work from home. Were these even things that were offered to her? We don't know. And I don't know if these were. But what the feeling we're getting from this is that this woman is thinking, you should be working up until the day that you have your baby. And here's the thing. What if this woman was at work? Let's say that she doesn't get the note. Let's say that she didn't get the note, right? She's at work and she passes out. What if she's at work? She starts to bleed. What if she has a rupture? What if she develops preeclampsia? Something I experienced twice. And she loses the baby. You put yourself to be liable. You put yourself to be responsible for whatever complication she develops that could possibly lead to a lawsuit. Do you really want to toy with that? I'd rather be safe than sorry. And it's not like we're talking about some average Joe off the street. This is a pregnant woman. You of all people should know this. Like you're a woman too. Woman to woman. Where is that? Like, to me, that's like on a humanity level. Where is that? Someone who has had children. So it's like, if anybody should know, it should be you. But this is where we're at. But also with this tie-in to diabetes management, this could be us too. Not presenting other options and alternatives for our patients to continue to live a high quality life. Like, to not accuse them of doing something, or not to come to the encounter already assuming that they're one thing, right? We can definitely overlook how to keep our patients at the center of our care. So I can speak about this all day long. I am already over my time. I really want to keep these at 30 minutes or less. But this was a lot, and I wanted to talk about this and expound on some things that I noticed. This is very upsetting. When I first saw it, I was very angry. I'm not going to even lie, on many levels. As a professional, I was very upset by this, but also as a woman who has had children and have felt like my voice was not heard as a patient, this was very disheartening, very much. And so anyways, guys, that's all I got. It was enough, okay? This was today's Lunch and Learn. We talked about implicit bias. If this was something that was very beneficial, please drop down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. When you saw this, how did you feel? What are some things that I didn't mention here? Let's keep the conversation going. And also remember that I have lives. They're live, but I do pre-record some of them because I'm a busy woman, okay? Like I said, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I work full time. in addition to doing this. And so you can catch these lunch and learns on Friday. They're supposed to go up at 11:30 Central Time, but today I had some technical difficulties. Hopefully this went well. Hopefully y'all can hear me. But you can catch this on my YouTube channel, Kim E, the Diabetes NP. If you're on LinkedIn and you like to watch their live events there, it streams to LinkedIn as well as my Facebook group, Kim E, the Diabetes NP. Thank you guys, and I hope that you come back next week to join me because it's going to be a good one, and you all have a great